Alright guys, hope you are all well. I'm doing something a bit different today, something I've not done for a long while. Now if you didn't know, when I first started covering the Division, the videos mainly consisted of Dark Zone runs and build videos. Now I bet that comes as a surprise for most of you because now I predominantly cover news and kind of discussion videos, and I'm fine in that lane. But with the huge changes coming to the gear with Warlords of New York, then we have the confirmation of the Striker gear set returning with the expansion. I want to discuss what could already be the meta build for the expansion, and it's certainly one of the strongest builds on paper that we know of so far. So with that in mind, if you enjoy this one and you want to see more build videos going into the future, leave a like below, leave a dislike if you don't, and let's begin. So I think it's worth starting this build off with kind of just going over how gear has changed with this update. Now the devs have made some huge changes to gear, as most of you are aware, specifically talents and where they're going to be from now on. Now as you can see with strikers here, and we're going to use this as an example for this point, you've got your standard 4 bonuses with the set, and that's normal. But with the gear set, you will notice 2 further talents, which are called Press the Advantage and Risk Management there at the bottom. You have Press the Advantage for the chest piece talent, and then Risk Management for the back piece talent. Now with Gear 2.0, all talents have been stripped from the mask slot, holster, gloves and knee pads, and talents will only be available on the chest or the backpack. This is how it's going to work with the expansion. What's important to understand about gear sets are the 2 talents found on the chest and the backpack, because these talents have been created to increase the power of the 4-piece talent in replacement for any high-end brand talent or exotic talent. Because let's not forget, when you choose to have a backpack piece or chest piece from a gear set, you're giving up a talent you could find from other gear in those slots. Now at present, we don't know every talent coming with the expansion, but I don't think it diminishes how strong Striker combined with other gear and certain weapons, attributes and the rest could be. I think it's pretty clear already. Now the build then, let's go over that. And I do want to preface this by saying again, we don't know everything, but this is, I wouldn't say it's an assumption because there's clearly evidence here, but we don't know what other talents are coming. So it could be that there are some crazy talents coming, but I suspect this will still be way up there as being one of the best builds that you could make with Warlords. So this build is going to give you really insane damage, like 200 plus damage, and good survivability as well. So first off, you're going to want 4 pieces of Striker, and this will include just the chest piece. Now this will give you plus 15% weapon handling from the 2-piece, which affects stability and reload speed and other handling stuff. 15% rate of fire for the 3-piece, which is just probably best in slot. It's so crazy when you consider 15% rate of fire. If you've got, say, someone like the Chameleon, which I can't totally remember what its rate of fire is, but say it's got 900 rate of fire. I think it's got around 900 rate of fire. Then 15% is, off the top of my head, 135. So you're looking at over 1,000, RPM on that weapon with this 3-piece active. And then you've got the 4-piece, which is Striker's Gamble. Now this talent power will be increased by the chest piece talent, and instead it's going to read this: weapon hits amplify total weapon damage by 0.5%, stacking up to 100 times. Not 50 times as per the Striker Gamble talent without the other talent active. Now that's a huge 50% weapon damage if you can keep your stacks up. Now I personally wouldn't choose the backpack talent here. If you haven't got the best aim, you may have to reconsider that. But for me, if I'm using something like the Chameleon, which is what I would use with this build, I'm looking to get close, so missing shots isn't so much of a problem because I'm going to be within that distance where it's probably harder to miss shots than it actually is to hit them. So we have 4 pieces of Striker equipped, one of those pieces being the chest piece to activate the Press the Advantage talent. This leaves 2 slots for gear. The backpack and any other piece aside from the chest. Let's say for the purpose of this build, let's just say the gloves. So what brand sets could we put here? Well, based on what we know so far, as long as no further changes are made to the brands in the next couple of days, I think it's vital you have Fenris here because, like I said, the main weapon of choice will be the Chameleon Exotic, which is an assault rifle. So Fenris is going to give you an extra 10% assault rifle damage, and there's no other piece of gear for the first slot that's just going to give you that insane amount of extra damage. And then we have one more slot. Now, there's multiple choices here, to be honest, for this particular slot. You could choose some up with extra sort of skill haste or that sort of stuff, and I'll go into why in a minute. But for me, with this build, running the Crusader shield, then yeah, I think I would probably go with Providence. So let's just have a look at this here. So with this build, you're going to be running the Crusader shield. So I would recommend running the Firewall specialization with its striker variant. This is because it provides a buff to you and your allies behind you, which boosts damage based upon the amount of enemies in front of you. So for PvP or PvE, this is going to be strong. You then got the Bull Rush talent from that tree that will give you plus 30% bonus armor, 50% bonus armor during cover-to-cover moves. Finally, you have the med kit, which recovers 200% armor and 200% health over 10 seconds, which is, surely one of the best med kits there is, and is perfect for survivability when it's needed. So the last piece I would pick is, as I said before, probably Providence, because this gives you an extra 5% damage. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but your shield is going to be strong because of the core attributes you're going to choose. So you just need to kind of get all the damage that you can here, I feel. Now, moving on to the skills first, then before we go on to the weapons. As I said, I would be running the striker variant of the shield. The shield is the Bulwark shield. Now, this comes with a mod to increase the health of the shield, and it also comes with a mod to increase the regeneration rate of the shield as part of the specialization tree. Now, what you may not know is that the shield skill tier is affected by both yellow core attribute rolls and blue core rolls, or both at the same time, meaning you can kind of mix them together to increase the shield skill tier. Now, this is really important to know because it means you could stack 6 blue rolls or 6 blue core rolls here, which all grant armor with the new system, and simultaneously increase the shield skill tier level to 6. Meaning you not only have an unbelievably strong shield, but you've also got 6 blue core rolls all giving you armor. So at the end of the day, your armor is also going to be pretty good when your shield is down. You're not going to be a glass cannon, is what I'm trying to say. Now, you're probably wondering why you would choose yellow core rolls over the blue ones here. Well, yellow core rolls will affect any other skills you have, unlike the blue rolls, as they only affect the shield. And this is probably the biggest sacrifice with this build. Your second skill will be, it'll be bad. You won't have any, there'll be no skill tiers attached to it, so it's going to be really bad. We haven't seen exactly how strong the shield is going to be at this point as well. So with these tiers, you may not actually require 6 blue core rolls here. You might only need 2, for instance. That could be enough for you to be pretty tanky. Meaning it's possible that you can then run 4 red core rolls instead, giving you, a substantial increase in weapon damage on top of what you already have. And if you were to do that, then when we look at the weapon involved here, you're going to be looking at weapon damage above 200%. You could run, say, 4 yellow core rolls, and then you could run maybe another skill, which could benefit from those skill tiers. You could run the chem launcher, or probably the repairer drone would be best in this particular situation, which would be affected by those skill tiers. There is a lot of variety here that you can go with. I think you just need to work out how many blue core rolls do I need in order for my shield to feel strong enough that I can then invest those core attributes somewhere else. And that'll be through some testing, but you can kind of see where this build is going and how strong it can be. So at this point, okay, you're a tank, right? You've decided, I'm running 6 blue core rolls. I've already got 50% damage from all the other stuff, or actually 65% extra damage when you consider that you've got the striker gear set. If you've got 100 stacks, you've got Providence and you've got Fenris. And you've got this powerful shield. And so you're doing good damage. So how do you complement this build? Well, that comes with the Chameleon Exotic. This exotic, as most of you know, has a pretty nasty talent called Adaptive Instincts. Now, what I want to focus on is this. Hitting 60 body shots grants plus 100% weapon damage for 45 seconds. If your aim is on point, and it should be if you're using Striker to its full effect, you're not only getting 65% damage from the Striker buff, Fenrir piece, and the Providence piece, but you're getting an additional 100% damage from the Chameleon talent as well when it procs. you're going to be doing insane damage. And that doesn't even take into account if you then put on red core attribute rolls as well. So you're going to be doing insane damage. You have a really strong shield, which, by the way, can activate the Overcharge feature found on some exotics or talents. If you were to spec into 6 blue core rolls, and then you found maybe a backpack talent, for example, that did have this Overcharge feature on there, you could proc that. So that's just going to be crazy. The Overcharge feature gives a huge buff for a small period of time. It may actually be better than other talents found in the backpack slot. So what you may have is a situation where you're not only doing 200% damage, okay, you've got strong shield, and then you've got the Overcharge feature. So you could be, you're going to be strong anyway, but for a brief period of time, you could be like Thanos strong, is what I'm trying to get at. Now, this build is crazy, right? I think on paper this build looks crazy. It's not going to be the only one. Of course, there's going to be others out there, but this appears to be pretty meta already, albeit we haven't actually seen the other talents coming. And I've looked at some other types of builds that you could make out there, guys, and there's going to be some really strong ones. It's just that with this one, because it's a hybrid, it kind of gives you a lot of different things. You've got good damage, you've got really strong damage if you can hit your shots, and you've got a really strong shield. And even when your shield's down, you're still going to be you're still going to have a good kind of health here, or good armor. Of course, like everything, this is going to need to be tested. Maybe there is some I've overlooked and not considered, so I want you guys to let me know in the comments down below. I think the biggest disadvantage to this build is the barrier of entry, or barrier to entry. A lot of people simply, they're not going to have the aim to keep their stacks up on the striker, and if you can't, this build isn't going to be for you, because not only will you lose out on the striker, but you'll lose out on the chameleon as well, and then you've just lost all of your damage. And yeah, you'll probably still be quite tanky, but there are probably going to be other ways to build better for tankiness. However, if you master that, you've got extra damage in excess of 150%, upwards of 200%, or even over, plus a strong shield, made that way through the skill tiers, activated by the blue core rolls. And these core rolls will give you armor as well, meaning that whilst you won't be a tank outside of the shield being active, you will still have some good survivability. If you pair this with a Bull Rush talent from the skill tree, giving you 50% extra armor, you're going to want to move around the map from cover to cover until the shield is active. You'll also get 30% health on kill from Firewall, so you may want to consider investing attributes in health as well. And lastly, whether you're in PvE or PvP, the shield's going to provide an additional damage buff to you and your allies. This really is, on paper, a really strong hybrid build, and I cannot wait to try it out. Now that's it for today's video, guys. I do want to get back to making builds, so if this is something you want to see, please hit the like button below. If you don't, a dislike, because I do want to know if this is something that you guys want on the channel or not. I'm actually excited for Gear 2.0. I'm excited to kind of look into builds a little bit more and see what's going to be strong here. When I was looking into this build, it just reminded me of the old days of doing this stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm still going to do my new stuff, but I was just thinking, with all the new stuff coming out, what else could I add to the channel? So maybe something like this is something that you guys would want to hear about, and I would go quite in depth on the build itself rather than just say, well, this is the build and this is how it works. I would go quite in depth as to why it works the way it works. Anyway, guys, until the next one, epic out.